Nice to have you today.
Hello.
So we're on to the topic. How do you feel about the Bill of Rights?
The Bill of I really wish the king would pass the Bill of Rights to us because it gives us the freedom of speech.
Once you get the freedom of speech, what are you planning to do with it?
I'm gonna go back to my normal life and get some money for my kids, my family.
What if the king doesn't pass it? What are you going to do? Rebel?
Yeah, I probably have to rebel because then I'm not gonna be able to live.
Okay, next. A good cash crop are sugar canes, right?
Yeah.
And what that makes is sugar. So after the Sugar Act was made, the king said, "Oh, you must pay taxes for all the sugar." How did you feel?
Well, sugar is such an important part of everyone's life, and if the king is taxing us for that sugar, it will make 0 sense, and it will just make everyone mad, which it already did.
So my question is, so now that sugar is just expensive, now are you going to find an alternative to sugar, which won't probably be that good either?
I probably have to because sugar is way too expensive.
Okay, adding on to sugar, another thing the king taxed you on was tea, simply the Tea Act. How did you feel about that?
Well, why? I don't understand why we have to drink English tea. First, it's too expensive, and also I don't know why we can't drink our own tea. It makes no sense.
So adding on to that, every import and export is taxed. How much money are you assuming that you're going to use for it?
Probably a ton of money.
A lot of money.
I'm not gonna get any profits.
And even before this all happened, in the parliament there were people saying like, there's a king and they were having a discussion. How did you feel when there were no representatives of the colonies?
Well, first of all, the colonists, me, we don't even have control of our own land. Only the king and English representatives have.
Do you think something would have changed if we had a representative?
Maybe, because then we might have better laws from someone who actually understands.
So what's more enraging you, the fact that you have no representative, or the fact you have to pay taxes, or both?
Probably both. Well, probably the representative, because if the representative was a good person from the colonies, there would be good laws, taxes.
Okay. And on top of that, after the no representative, the king now wants to control your land. Now, how do you feel about that? Not being able to farm freely, not being able to harvest and sell it. How do you feel?
Well, I feel really bad, honestly, because this is my own land that's being controlled by someone else who doesn't care about us.
How much land do you think you lost?
I probably lost acres and acres of farming land that I could have supplied a lot of people.
So, paper is essential. You make deals, you make documents, you make signs, you write to people. It's important, right?
Yeah.
And then the king released a Stamp Act, which makes paper expensive because it's now taxed. How do you feel?
Well, paper, we use it so much. Like I said, we make deals with it. But even if that gets taxed, then we're not gonna earn much. Even if you have a deal, and it's gonna be really expensive. It's gonna be hard to make the deals.
Do you think paying this just for one piece of paper to sign something, do you think it makes sense? Do you think it's fair?
Of course not, because it's just paper. Why would we need to pay so much for simple paper?
Adding on to having no control over your land, how did it feel when a soldier barged into your house? Like, for example, the carving act, when the king allowed soldiers to live in your houses, they made you guys pay for their food, clothes, supplies, whatever. And most of all, having someone invading your house, how did it feel?
I don't understand why the king would let some random soldiers barge into our house. We don't even know them. They start asking for all these food and new clothes, tea, obviously.
But for the first part, do you think it made sense that the soldiers fought for you, could rest in their homes for a while? That made sense, right?
Yeah, in the beginning it did.
But as they started living there, invading your privacy, is that when it started, when you didn't want them in your houses anymore?
If you go into someone else's house, you should at least have some manners instead of just laying around and asking for food. You're forced to feed them.
And how did you feel about the Township Act, where there were imposed duties on glass, lead, paint, paper, and tea imported into the countries?
Oh, I didn't. Well, it's because of all of those glass, teeth, all that. I didn't earn
It's an
many.
important thing in life, and now they're taxing it, so I'm assuming you don't like it.
Yeah, we lose a lot of money from
Okay, adding on to these imports, now exports, the Navigation Act, when the king asks all trading items must go past England first before it goes to any other countries. How did it feel? Not being able to trade with other countries?
that. Well, I don't know why they made it so that it has to go through England, and because of that, we also lose a lot of extra money that's not really necessary. I don't know why we can't trade with any other countries.
So, do you think trading with England is the best thing? There are many other countries that will pay more money for this, right? Okay. And one more before you leave. How did you feel about the Boston Tea Party and the Intolerable Act that followed after, trying to punish you guys for the Boston Tea Party?
Well, the Boston Tea Party was something that they deserved. They taxed us for all of our tea. It was way too expensive, so we took action against it.
Were you proud of it?
Yeah, of course. But because of that, because of what they deserved, they decided to pay back for something. They decided to punish us for something that we did for our greater good.
So my question is, so you threw all that tea into the sea. Fine, they deserved it, but don't you think it was a bit too violent to do that?
We lost way too much money for that to be violent. You can't compare those two together and say the Boston Tea Party is more violent.
So you think it's fair?
Yeah.
Any impressions into the king? Anything you want to say to him?
Well, I'll just tell him to have more respect for the colonists that are living.
Well, that'll be it for today. Thank you for